Grappler Baki is testosterone to the eyeballs. It's raw adrenaline and high-octane martial arts action. It exaggerates the boundaries of reality. It likes to take realistic principles and crank it up to an absurd degree. It's through this pseudo-realistic world where Baki explores the themes of what a man is and what it means to be a man. John Eldridge, in his book Wild at Heart, states that at the heart of every man is a desperate desire for a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue. I think that this is probably the best summation of a man's desires. Men want to fight against something and win the competition, to keep progressing and feel as though they're journeying towards something great, and they want women. With the exception of the last point, we'll go over these traits and how Baki displays them. The traditional value of a man was to lead and protect. This is why traditional societies had a sort of rite of passage for boys to cement themselves as men. This told the society that the men were strong and able to be relied upon. It told the community that these are people who are ready to tackle the challenges of life. They were able to unlock their latent potential and become better versions of themselves through the trial. And because of this, they were given power that they had earned the rights to.
Most women are fulfilled by what they are, but most men fulfilled by what they do.
Now, this isn't always good. Yujiro Hanma, Baki's dad, is an example of what we would colloquially call toxic masculinity. He hurts women, assaults women, and abandons his son all for the sake of inspiring someone who could eventually become stronger than him. In other words, Yujiro forces everyone to capitulate to his worldview all for the sake of his own desires. Thankfully, at least, the man ends up creating at least one positive effect from his actions. His son, Baki, actually displays a lot of what I would consider to be positive masculinity. Baki learns to use his power and strength to protect and defend. After coming back from his world tour, he goes to Japan's secret underground martial arts league. Coming back, he comes in contact with Kosue, who would eventually become his girlfriend. One day, some bullies try and hurt him and he just kinda lets it happen. Kosue asks Baki why he refused to fight back despite the fact that he trains all the time and he refuses to answer. Sometime later, the bullies come again and try and assault Kosue, but Baki comes in and saves her. Baki demonstrates that strength isn't just to be used for exciting martial arts sports, but also to protect people from those who choose to abuse their power. After Baki becomes the world's strongest high schooler, a kid walks up to him and timidly claims he wants to fight Baki while all his friends cowered away. Baki playfully intimidates the child and spanks him into a lake. After he comes back, Baki then declares them friends with the text reading that the kid now knows what it means to be a man. When they sit down and have a conversation, Baki tells the kid that he was actually 100 times stronger than all of his friends because he was willing to fight. For this example, being a man means two things. One, having the courage to fight, and two, having the correct use of that strength in order to guide people. The kid wanted to fight Baki despite the fact that all of his friends backed away, and Baki's response showed one way to use your power. Baki noticed that the kid was in a similar situation that he was in when he was a child and he wanted to take down his father. But instead of seriously harming the kid, he almost plays with him. In The Boy Crisis by Warren Farrell and John Gray, they say that a father's strength has two purposes: to excite and protect. Playing with dad is like a roller coaster. Kids are excited because they feel safe. Now, Warren and John only mention two, but I think that there's a third one that can evolve from those two. It's through the father's ability to excite and protect the child that he's ultimately able to teach them. By play wrestling or throwing the child in the air, he's showing the child that power can be contained and harnessed. Baki does this in a really crazy way because, of course, it's Baki and everything in Baki is crazy. You've probably just come to expect slapstick humor and action from this series at this point. Being a man in Baki requires practicing the Aristotelian version of meekness. I explained that here in my Vinland Saga video. Meekness, or praus, is to contain your strength and use it for the proper ends. Baki has fulfilled his rite of passage and now has been entrusted to use that power for good, and he continually does that.
Every great leader knows that his strength is not measured by the size of his army, but by the strength his army sees within him.
Baki, in its essence, is about getting stronger. Baki gets stronger to defeat Yujiro, Olivier gets stronger to carry his girl, Doppo Orochi gets stronger to refine and better his karate technique. The characters in Baki don't fight for money or glory or anything. They ultimately fight to complete and refine who they are. There are many words that get at this idea. There's the Japanese word kokoro, which means wholeness of body and spirit. There's the Greek word arete, which means excellence and full realization and potential of oneself. I talk about all of this and more in much more detail in my book, Muscular Christianity. The word I want to focus on, however, which is a word that I believe helps men get to this point, is the word thumos. Thumos is a word coined by Plato to express male life energy through blood, sweat, and vigor. It's that fire in your belly that gives you the drive to defend your family, go and work out in the blizzard cold, and to be acknowledged as someone who's at the top of their craft. It's what drives entrepreneurs to take the risk in starting that company. Thumos is what Spartan soldiers felt before heading into battle to defend their nation. Thumos is how we feel when we hit a bench press personal record. Thumos is the fundamental driving force that drives men to provide for their family. Thumos is a more spiritual version of testosterone. It can ultimately drive men to excellence or criminality. It can make you become Yujiro or Baki. Theodore Roosevelt made a speech called The Strenuous Life, and I believe it gets at what I'm talking about. I wish to preach not the doctrine of ignoble ease, but the doctrine of the strenuous life. The life of toil and effort. To preach that highest form of success not to the man who desires mere easy peace, but the man who does not shrink from danger, from hardship, or from bitter toil, and who out of these wins the splendid ultimate triumph. A life of slothful ease, a life of that peace which springs merely from a lack of either desire or the power to strive for great things, is as little worthy of a nation as of an individual. If you are rich and worth your salt, you may tell your sons that though they may have leisure, it is not to be spent in idleness. For wisely used leisure merely means that those who possess it, being free of the necessity of working for their livelihood, are all the more bound to carry some kind of non-remunerative work in science, in letters, in art, in exploration, of historical research work we most need in this country, the successful carrying out of which reflects most honor upon a nation. We do not admire the man of timid peace. We admire the man who embodies victorious effort, the man who never wrongs his neighbor, who is prompt to help a friend, but who has those virile qualities necessary to win in the stern strife of actual life. Have the courage to victoriously pursue your dreams. Be the man in the arena chasing the ghost of your higher self. An ideal self beckons you to seize it. How long can you afford to put off who you really want to be? Your nobler self cannot wait any longer. In Theodore Roosevelt's Man in the Arena speech, he tells his compatriots to mar their face with dust, sweat, and blood. To dare greatly. He says, at the best, we know the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if we fail, at least we fail while daring greatly. So that our place shall never be among those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. Itagaki, the author of Baki, said in an interview that people should find their value in society and chase it. This is best seen in the conference scene among the world leaders where they talk about what makes Yujiro so frightening. Yes, Yujiro is the equivalent of a weapon of war in this show. Anyways, in the conference they talk about how Yujiro's power is physical. This is a more primitive manifestation of power. The way modern people often express power is by displaying mastery in their craft. Power isn't always physical. The way I described Thumos might make it sound like a more primitive form of power, but that isn't necessarily the case. It's just easiest to contextualize when I talk about it in a more physical sense. Thumos fuels that indefatigable drive to become the best at whatever craft you may be in. Thumos keeps you motivated to go on that wild adventure that Eldridge mentioned and seeing if you really have what it takes to make it to the top. The desire to change your life and flip all of your bad prospects on their head. It's an expression of self-determination and freedom. You choose how your future plays out, and you work your tail off to get there. If any of this got you motivated and fired up, consider my book. A lot of this video was taken directly from there. And with that being said, thank you for watching.